The room erupted in applause the moment my father handed my sister the keys to my condo. Everyone smiled, except me. I looked down at the property documents in her hands, wondering why no one else noticed the one thing that made this gift impossible. My name is Nala Okoye. I'm 31 years old, a commercial interior designer from Lagos. I spent 8 years saving for my first home because I believed owning something in my own name meant nobody could ever take it away. I was wrong about one thing. I underestimated what family members will convince themselves they own when they think you'll never fight back. Christmas dinner started like it always did. The house was full of laughter, the smell of delicious food filled every room, and my relatives talked happily with one another. My father sat at the center of the table, telling funny stories that made everyone laugh. My younger sister, Amma, enjoyed every moment as usual. She smiled, laughed loudly, and received attention from everyone in the family. I stayed busy in the kitchen, helping serve the food, bringing drinks to the table, and making sure everyone had what they needed. I didn't mind helping because I always believed Christmas was about spending time with family. I never imagined that this holiday would become the most painful day of my life. After dinner, my father stood up and gently tapped his glass with a spoon to get everyone's attention. The room became completely quiet. He smiled proudly and said he had the biggest Christmas surprise anyone could imagine. Everyone looked at him with excitement. Then he picked up a small gift box wrapped in bright red paper and handed it to Amma. She looked shocked and quickly opened it while everyone watched. Inside the box were a set of keys and copies of property documents. My heart almost stopped the moment I saw them. I recognized those keys immediately. They were the keys to my condo. The papers were copies of the title documents for the home I had worked so hard to buy. My father put his hand on Amma's shoulder and smiled proudly. "This condo is yours now," he said. "You deserve a better start in life." The room exploded with applause. My relatives cheered, congratulated Amma, and told her how lucky she was. Some even hugged my father and praised him for being such a generous parent. Amma held up the keys with a huge smile on her face as everyone celebrated. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I just stared at the keys in her hand. My mind was racing. That condo was not my father's to give away. I had spent 8 long years working hard, saving every extra naira and making countless sacrifices to buy that home. The title was in my name. I kept looking around the room, wondering if anyone else realized the simple truth. Nobody questioned it. Nobody looked at me. Everyone celebrated a gift that had never belonged to the person giving it. I took a slow breath and stood up from my chair. My hands were shaking, but I kept my voice calm. I looked at my father first, then at everyone sitting around the table. "Dad," I said quietly, "that condo is not yours to give away." The room became silent for a moment. Everyone looked at me as if they were waiting for me to laugh and say it was a joke. But I wasn't joking. "I bought that condo with my own salary," I continued. "I worked for years, paid every monthly mortgage payment myself, and the title is registered only in my name. Nobody asked me if I wanted to give it to Amma." Instead of understanding, the mood in the room changed against me. One of my uncles frowned and said I should not argue with my father during Christmas. An aunt shook her head and told me I was ruining a beautiful family moment. Another relative said I should be grateful because I had a good career while my younger sister needed help. Nobody asked if what my father had done was right. Nobody cared that the condo belonged to me. They only cared that I had spoken up. Amma acted as if everything had already been decided. She smiled brightly and started talking about how she wanted to decorate the living room. She said she wanted white walls, new curtains, and modern furniture. She even asked one of our cousins if he could help her move after New Year's. Every word she spoke felt like another piece of my life being taken away without my permission. She never looked at me once to ask if I agreed. She simply accepted the gift as if it had always been hers. Then my father looked directly at me. His smile disappeared, and his face became serious. In a cold voice he said, "You're successful. Stop acting selfish." Those words hurt more than anything else that night. I had worked late nights, skipped vacations, and saved every extra naira to buy that home. None of that seemed to matter. To my father, saying no meant I was selfish. I looked around the room one last time. Nobody defended me. Nobody questioned what had happened. I realized I would not change anyone's mind by arguing. So I picked up my bag, quietly wished everyone a Merry Christmas, and walked out of the house. I said nothing else, but my mind was already searching for the best way to protect what I had spent years building. The next morning, I woke up after only a few hours of sleep. My mind kept going back to everything that had happened at Christmas dinner. I remembered my father's proud smile, my sister holding the keys, and my relatives clapping as if my home had already changed owners. The more I thought about it, the more confused I became. I knew the condo belonged to me, but I wanted to be completely sure about my legal rights before making any decision. I did not want to act out of anger. I wanted to act with facts. After breakfast, I called the lawyer who had helped me buy the condo 8 years earlier. He remembered me immediately and agreed to meet me that same morning. I gathered all my documents, including the original purchase agreement, mortgage papers, payment records, and the property title. As I drove to his office, I felt nervous, but I also felt hopeful. I needed someone who understood the law better than I did. When I arrived, the lawyer welcomed me into his office and asked what had happened. I explained everything from the Christmas dinner, including how my father had handed my condo keys to Amma in front of the whole family and announced that the apartment now belonged to her. The lawyer listened carefully without interrupting me. When I finished, he asked me to place all my documents on his desk. He spent several minutes reading every paper. He checked the title, the payment history, and all the legal records connected to the property. I watched his face closely, trying to guess what he was thinking. Finally, he closed the file, looked at me, and smiled. "There is no problem with your ownership," he said calmly. "The title is only in your name. Every payment came from your account. Everything is legally correct." I let out a deep breath, but I still had one important question. "So, can my father give the condo to my sister?" The lawyer shook his head without any hesitation. "The only person who can transfer this condo is you," he replied. "No one else has that legal authority. Your father cannot give away property that he does not own." His words changed everything inside me. For the first time since Christmas dinner, I stopped feeling helpless. My father had not secretly taken my condo from me. He had simply made a promise that he had no legal right to make. My sister had been celebrating a gift that never legally belonged to her. I thanked the lawyer, collected my documents, and walked out of his office with a clear mind. I finally understood that the law was on my side, and that truth gave me the confidence to decide my next step carefully. I expected Amma to call me after Christmas. I thought she would ask if our father had made a mistake or at least ask me how he could give her a condo that belonged to me. But my phone never rang. She did not send a message. She did not ask for permission. She acted as if everything had already been settled and the condo was now hers. It was as though my opinion no longer mattered. The next day, I opened social media and saw her first post. She had taken a picture of the keys my father gave her and wrote, "Best Christmas gift ever. I can't believe I finally have my own beautiful condo." Hundreds of people liked the post within a few hours. Friends filled the comments with congratulations. Some called her lucky. Others said she deserved such an amazing gift. Reading those comments made my heart heavy because every person believed a story that was not true. Over the next few days, Amma became even more excited. She shared photos of expensive sofas, dining tables, curtains, and bedroom furniture. She asked her followers which paint color would look best in the living room. Some people suggested modern white walls. Others recommended soft gray or warm cream colors. She thanked everyone for their ideas and replied as if she would soon begin decorating. Then she posted another message that surprised me even more. She announced that she would host a housewarming party during the New Year's weekend. She invited friends and relatives to celebrate her new home. People quickly accepted the invitation. Some promised to bring gifts. Others said they could not wait to see the beautiful condo. Every new post made the fantasy grow bigger. Several relatives also joined the excitement. My cousins talked about helping her move. An aunt offered to buy kitchen appliances as a housewarming gift. My uncle joked that he expected a good meal at the new apartment. Everyone acted as though the condo already belonged to Amma. Not one person contacted me to ask if any of it was true. Every time I looked at those posts, I felt hurt. I remembered the years I had spent saving money. I remembered saying no to vacations, buying secondhand furniture, and working late nights on extra design projects just to make every mortgage payment on time. That condo was the result of years of sacrifice. Now people were celebrating it as if it had appeared by magic. Many times, I wanted to write the truth in the comments. I wanted to tell everyone that the condo was still legally mine. I wanted to stop the lies immediately. But each time I picked up my phone, I put it back down again. I decided to stay silent. The more Amma talked, the more confident she became. The more confident she became, the more people believed her story. I realized that silence was not always weakness. Sometimes, when people believe their own fantasy, they reveal far more than they ever planned. And I had a feeling that very soon, that fantasy would meet reality. After watching everything happen without saying a word, I knew one thing for sure. Arguing with my family would change nothing. They had already decided what they wanted to believe. Every time I imagined another conversation with them, I could already hear the same words. They would tell me to think about family, to stop being selfish, and to let Amma have the condo. I was tired of explaining the truth to people who did not want to hear it. Instead of wasting more time, I decided to do something practical. That morning, I picked up my phone and called one of the most trusted real estate agents in my area. He had helped several people in my office buy and sell homes, and everyone spoke highly of him. After introducing myself, I told him about my condo and asked if he had a few minutes to talk. He listened carefully as I described the property. Then I asked him one simple question. If I put my condo on the market today, how quickly do you think it could sell? There was a short pause before he answered. Very quickly, he said. With confidence. Homes in your neighborhood are in very high demand right now. Several buyers have been searching for a condo like yours, but they keep missing good opportunities. If your property is in good condition, I don't think it will stay on the market for long. His answer surprised me. I had expected him to say it might take months. Instead, he sounded certain that finding buyers would not be difficult at all. Later that day, he visited the condo to inspect it. He walked through every room, checked the condition of the apartment, and smiled with approval. He told me the location was excellent, the design was modern, and the property had been well maintained. Before leaving, he took professional photographs and prepared the listing. Within a few hours, the condo appeared on the market. I went back to work and tried to focus on my projects, but my phone kept buzzing with updates from the agent. People were asking questions about the property. They wanted to know when they could visit. Some requested private viewings as soon as possible. The next day, the interest became even stronger. Several buyers toured the condo one after another. Some arrived with their families. Others came with financial advisors. They looked carefully at every room and asked serious questions because they were ready to buy, not just look around. Before 48 hours had passed, my agent called again. You now have several strong offers, he said. Some buyers are even offering more than your asking price because they don't want to lose this opportunity. For the first time since Christmas dinner, I smiled. While my family was still celebrating a gift that had never belonged to them, the real owner was quietly making a decision that would change everything. Only a few days after my condo was listed for sale, the news reached my family. I never told anyone about it, but news travels quickly. A neighbor saw people visiting the apartment with a real estate agent and, after thinking carefully about every offer, I finally chose the best one. The buyers were a young married couple who had been searching for a home in my neighborhood for months. They loved the condo from the moment they walked inside. They made an offer that was even higher than my asking price because they did not want to lose the opportunity. My real estate agent smiled when he called me with the final details. He said it was one of the strongest offers he had seen that month. I reviewed everything with my lawyer, signed the documents, and moved forward with confidence. Every step followed the law, and every paper was completed correctly. Before New Year's Eve arrived, the legal transfer was finished. The payment was safely deposited into my account, and the property was officially registered in the buyer's names. When I signed the final document, I felt a deep sense of peace. I was not acting out of anger or revenge. I was simply making a decision about my own property. No one had the right to stop me. On New Year's morning, the buyers met with the real estate agent to receive their keys. They were excited to begin the next chapter of their lives. They thanked everyone involved and happily carried a few small boxes into their new home. They had no idea about the family drama connected to the condo. To them, it was simply the home they had legally purchased. Almost at the same time, another car pulled into the parking area. Amma stepped out with a huge smile on her face. Behind her was a small moving truck filled with furniture, suitcases, and boxes. Two cousins came with her to help carry everything inside. They laughed as they talked about where the sofa should go and which bedroom would be the best. They truly believed they were about to move into the Christmas gift my father had promised. Amma walked confidently to the front door, holding the keys Dad had given her. But before she could even try them, the front door opened. A smiling couple stood there. They greeted Amma politely and asked if they could help her. Amma stared at them in complete confusion. She looked at the keys in her hand, then back at the strangers standing inside the condo. One of my cousins quietly asked if they had come to the wrong building. The new owners gently explained that they had legally bought the condo just days earlier and had received the keys that morning. The smiles disappeared from everyone's faces. In a single moment, the fantasy that had begun on Christmas Day came to an end, replaced by a truth that could no longer be ignored. My phone started ringing only a few minutes after Amma discovered that strangers were living in the condo. The first call came from my father, but I let it ring because I knew he was angry. Then another call came. After that, more calls and messages kept arriving one after another. My phone would not stop vibrating. My relatives, cousins, aunts, and uncles all wanted to talk to me at the same time. It felt as if everyone had suddenly remembered that the condo belonged to me. I finally answered my father's call. The moment I said hello, he began shouting. He accused me of destroying the family's happiness and ruining Christmas for everyone. He said I had embarrassed him in front of relatives and neighbors. According to him, I should have thought about the family's reputation before selling the condo. I listened quietly until he finished speaking. Then I calmly reminded him that I had never promised the condo to anyone. He had made that promise without asking me. There was a long silence before he changed the subject and repeated that I should find a way to fix everything. A few minutes later, Amma called me in tears. She said all her friends now knew what had happened. She had invited people to a housewarming party, and now everyone was asking embarrassing questions. She told me I had humiliated her in front of everyone who had congratulated her online. I felt sorry that she was hurt, but I also remembered that she had never once asked me if the condo was really hers. She had simply accepted something that was never mine to give away. The rest of the family kept calling. Some demanded that I cancel the sale immediately. Others insisted I should return the buyer's money and give the condo to Amma instead. A few even said that family should always come before money. I explained the same thing again and again. The condo had already been sold. The legal documents had been signed. The ownership had officially changed. There was nothing left for me to cancel. Some relatives refused to believe me, so they contacted the real estate agent and even called the lawyer who handled the sale. Every professional gave them exactly the same answer. The transaction had followed every legal step. The payment had been completed, the ownership had been transferred, and the new buyers were now the lawful owners of the property. No mistake had been made. No law had been broken. Nothing could be reversed. For the first time, my family stopped arguing with me and started facing the truth. They finally understood that my father's Christmas promise had never been enough to change ownership. A gift can only be given by the person who actually owns it, and in this case, that person had always been me. A few days after everything happened, something unexpected began to change. My phone was still receiving messages, but the tone was different. Instead of angry demands, some of my older relatives asked if they could speak with me privately. They wanted to hear my side of the story without anyone else listening. I agreed because I felt they finally wanted the truth instead of rumors. One by one, they called me or invited me for a quiet conversation. The first thing many of them said surprised me. They admitted they had believed my father had secretly bought the condo for me years ago. They thought he had paid for it and simply kept it in my name. That was why they did not question him when they assumed he was giving away something that had always belonged to him. I gently explained the real story. I told them that nobody had bought the condo for me. I had earned every part of it myself. After graduating, I worked long hours as a commercial interior designer. I accepted extra projects whenever I could. Many weekends that other people spent relaxing, I spent working. While friends traveled during holidays, I stayed home to save money. I drove an old car for years because I wanted to reduce my expenses. I carefully planned every payment and never missed a mortgage installment. It had taken me almost 10 years of hard work and sacrifice to finally own that home. As they listened, the silence on the other end of the phone became longer. Some relatives apologized for judging me too quickly. Others admitted they had never known how much I had sacrificed. They realized they had celebrated a gift without knowing who had truly paid for it. Slowly, the conversations in the family began to change. People stopped asking me why I had sold the condo. Instead, they started asking a different question. Why did your father think he could give away something that wasn't his? For the first time, I was no longer the person everyone blamed. The focus shifted to the real problem. My father had made a promise using property he did not own, and everyone could finally see how unfair that had been. Even relatives who still loved my father admitted that he had crossed a line. They said he should have respected the years of work behind my success instead of treating my achievements like family property. Hearing those words did not erase the pain of Christmas Day, but it brought something I had been missing for a long time. People finally understood that my condo was never a gift. It was the reward for years of discipline, sacrifice, and hard work that nobody else had lived through except me. After the sale was complete, I did not waste time looking back. I used the money to buy another property, this time much closer to my office. The shorter drive meant I could spend less time in traffic and more time doing the work I loved. It was not as large as my previous condo, but it felt even more valuable because every decision about it was completely mine. When I walked through the empty rooms for the first time, I felt something I had not felt in a long time: peace. This home was a fresh beginning, built on the lessons I had learned. When I moved in, I kept everything simple. I unpacked my boxes one by one and arranged each room exactly the way I wanted. There were no family meetings about furniture. Nobody argued about paint colors. Nobody tried to make decisions for me. For the first time, I created a home that reflected my own choices and my own dreams. One decision was especially important to me. I did not give anyone in my family a spare key. It was not because I hated them or wanted revenge. It was because I finally understood that healthy boundaries protect both relationships and peace of mind. My home was no longer a place where people could walk in and act as if they had the right to control my life. I also chose not to invite anyone to decorate the apartment. I wanted every picture on the wall, every chair, and every small detail to remind me that I had earned this space through my own hard work. Each room became a quiet reminder that my sacrifices had value. Several months passed before my father asked to meet me. This time, there was no audience, no relatives, and no Christmas celebration. It was just the two of us sitting quietly across the table. After a long silence, he finally spoke. I honestly thought you would stay quiet, he admitted. You always stayed quiet before. I looked at him for a moment and realized he was right. For many years, I had avoided conflict because I wanted to keep the family together. I had stayed silent, even when I felt hurt. But silence had allowed people to believe my hard work belonged to everyone else. This time was different. I did not shout. I did not argue. I simply protected what I had spent years building. Christmas did not destroy my family. It changed something much more important. It ended the belief that my dreams, my sacrifices, and everything I had worked for could be given away without my permission. From that day forward, everyone finally understood that respecting me also meant respecting the life I had built with my own hands. Sometimes the greatest gift isn't the house you keep. It's discovering the courage to stop letting other people decide what your sacrifices are worth. If this story touched you, let me know in the comments. What would you have done if your own family tried to give away something you worked years to earn?